What? I shouted aloud. What is this life? Mom ran in. What's wrong? Nothing, I assured her. Still nervous, Mom knelt down to check on Philip to ensure he was condensing oxygen appropriately. I imagined sitting at a sun-drenched cafe with Peter Van Houten as he leaned across the table on his elbows, speaking in a soft voice so no one else would hear the truth of what happened to the characters. I'd spent years thinking about it. He said he couldn't tell me except in person, and then invited me to Amsterdam. I explained this to Mom, and then said, I have to go. Hazel, I love you, and you know I'd do anything for you, but we don't have the money for international travel and the expense of getting equipment over there. Love, it's just not. Yeah, I said, cutting her off. I realized I'd been silly even to consider it. Don't worry about it, but she looked worried. It's really important to you, yeah? She asked, sitting down, a hand on my calf. It would be pretty amazing, I said, to be the only person who knows what happens beside him. That would be amazing, she said. I'll talk to your father. No, don't, I said. Just seriously, don't spend any money on it, please. I'll think of something. It occurred to me that the reason why my parents had no money was me. I'd sapped the family savings with Palensive workout pays, and Mom couldn't work because she had taken on the full-time profession of hovering over me. I didn't want to put them even further in debt. I told Mom I wanted to call Augustus to get her out of the room, because I couldn't handle her I can't make my daughter's dreams come true sad face. Augustus Waters' style. I read him the letter instead of saying hello. Wow, he said. I know, right? I said. How am I going to get to Amsterdam? Do you have a wish? He asked, referring to this organization, the Genie Foundation, which is in the business of granting sick kids one wish. No, I said. I use my wish pre-miracle. What do you do? I sighed loudly. I was 13, I said. Not Disney, he said. I said nothing. You did not go to Disney World. I said nothing. Hazel Grace, he shouted. You did not use your one dying wish to go to Disney World with your parents. Also Epcot Center, I mumbled. Oh my God, Augustus said. I can't believe I have a crush on a girl with such cliché wishes. I was 13, I said again, although of course I was only thinking crush, 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 crush. I was flattered but changed the subject immediately. Shouldn't you be in school or something? I'm playing hooky to hang out with Isaac, but he's sleeping, so I'm in the atrium doing geometry. How's he doing? I asked. I can't tell if he's just not ready to confront the seriousness of his disability or if he really does care more about getting dumped by Monica, but he won't talk about anything else. Yeah, I said. How long he's gonna be in the hospital? Few days. Then he goes to his rehab or something for a while. But he gets to sleep at home, I think. Sucks, I said. I see his mom. I gotta go. Okay, I said. Okay, he answered. I could hear his crooked smile. On Saturday, my parents and I went down to the farmer's market in Broad Ripple. It was sunny, a rarity for Indiana in April, and everyone at the farmer's market was wearing short sleeves, even though the temperature didn't quite justify it. We Hoosiers are excessively optimistic about summer. Mom and I sat next to each other on a bench across from a goat soap maker, a man in overalls who had to explain to every single person who walked by that yes, they were his goats, and no, goat soaps does not smell like goats. My phone rang. Who is it? Mom asked before I could even check. I don't know, I said. It was Gustav. Are you currently at your house? He asked. No, I said. That was a trick question. I knew the answer because I'm currently at your house. Oh, well, we are on our way, I guess. Awesome. See you soon. Augustus Waters was sitting on the front step as he pulled into the driveway. He was holding a bouquet of bright orange tulips just beginning to bloom, and wearing an Indiana Pacers jersey under his fleece, a wardrobe choice that seemed utterly out of character, although it did look quite good on him. He pushed himself up off the stoop, handed me the tulips, and asked, "Wanna go on a picnic?" I nodded, taking the flowers. My dad walked up behind me and shook Gus's hand. "Is that a Rick Smith's jersey?" my dad asked. "Indeed it is. God, I love that guy," Dad said, and immediately they were engrossed in a basketball conversation I could not and did not want to join, so I took my tulips inside. "Do you want me to put those in a vase?" Mom asked as I walked in a huge smile on her face. "No, it's okay," I told her. "If we put them in a vase into the living room, they would have been everyone's flowers. I wanted them to be my flowers." I went to my room but didn't change. I brushed my hair and teeth and put on some lip gloss and the smallest possible dab of perfume. I kept looking at the flowers. They were aggressively orange, almost too orange to be pretty. I didn't have a vase or anything, so I took my brush out of my toothbrush holder and filled it with halfway with water and left the flowers there in the bathroom. When I re-entered my room, I could hear people talking, so I sat on the edge of my bed for a while and listened through my hollow bedroom door. Dad: "So you met Hazel at support group?" Augustus: "Yes, sir. This is a lovely house you've got. I like your artwork." Mom: "Thank you, Augustus." Dad: "You're a survivor yourself then." Augustus: "I am. I didn't cut this fella off for the sheer of unadulterated pleasure of it, although it is an excellent weight loss strategy. Legs are heavy." Dad: "And how's your health now?" Augustus: "NEC for 14 months." Mom: "That's wonderful. The treatment options these days, it really is remarkable." Augustus: "I know, I'm lucky." Dad: "You have to understand that Hazel is still sick, Augustus, and will be for the rest of her life. She'll want to keep up with you, but her lungs—" At which point I emerged, silencing him. "So where are you going?" asked Mom. Augustus stood up and leaned over to her, whispering the answer, and then held a finger to his lips. "Shh," he told her. "It's a secret." Mom smiled. "You've got your phone?" she asked me. I held it up as evidence, tilted my oxygen cart onto its front wheels, and started walking. Augustus hustled over, offering me his arm, which I took, my fingers wrapped around his biceps. Unfortunately, he insisted upon driving, so the surprise could be a surprise. As we strutted toward our destination, I said, "You nearly charmed the pants off my mom." "Yeah, and your dad is a Smiths fan, which helps." "You think they liked me?" "Sure, they did. Who cares, though? They're just parents." "They're your parents," he said, glancing over at me. "Plus, I like being liked. Is that crazy?" "Well, you don't have to rush to hold doors open or smother me in compliments for me to like you." He slammed the brakes, and I flew forward hard enough that my breathing felt weird and tight. I thought of the PET scan. "Don't worry. Worry is useless." I roared anyway. We burned rubber, roaring away from a stop sign before turning left onto the misnomered Grand View. There's a view of a golf course, I guess, but nothing grand. The only thing I could think of in this direction was the cemetery. Augustus reached into the center console, flipped open a full pack of cigarettes, and removed one. "Do you ever throw them away?" I asked him. "One of the many benefits of not smoking is that packs of cigarettes last forever," he answered. "I've had this one for almost a year. A few of them are broken near the filters, but I think this pack could easily get me to my 18th birthday." He held the filter between his fingers, then put it in his mouth. "So, okay," he said. "Okay, name some things that you've never seen in Indianapolis." Skinny adults," I said. He laughed. "Good, keep going." Beaches, family-owned restaurants, topography, all excellent examples of things we lack. Also, culture. "Yeah, we are a bit short on culture," I said. finally realizing where he was taking me. Are we going to the museum? In a manner of speaking. Oh, are we going to that park or whatever? Gus looked a bit deflated. Yes, we're going to that park or whatever, he said. You figured it out, haven't you? Figured what out? Nothing. There was this park behind the museum where a bunch of artists had made big sculptures. I'd heard about it but have never visited. We drove past the museum and parked right next to this basketball court filled with huge blue and red steel arcs that imagined the path of a bouncing ball. We walked down what passes for a hill in Indianapolis to this clearing where kids were climbing all over this huge oversized skeleton sculpture. The bones were each about waist high, and the thigh bone was longer than me. It looked like a child's drawing of a skeleton rising up out of the ground. My shoulder hurt. I worried the cancer had spread from my lungs. I imagined the tumor metastasizing into my own bones, boring holes into my skeleton, a slightly ill of insidious intent. Funky bones, Augustus said, created by Job van Lieshout. Sounds Dutch. He is, Gus said. So is Rick Smith's. So are tulips. Gus stopped in the middle of the clearing with the bones right in front of us and slipped his backpack off one shoulder, then the other. He unzipped it, producing an orange blanket, a pit of orange juice, and some sandwiches wrapped in a plastic wrap with the crusts cut off. What's with all the orange? I asked, still not wanting to let myself imagine that all this would lead to Amsterdam. National color of the Netherlands, of course. You remember William of Orange and everything? He wasn't on the GED test, I smiled, trying to contain my excitement. Sandwich? He asked. Let me guess, I said. Dutch cheese and tomato. The tomatoes are from Mexico. Sorry. You're always such a disappointment, Augustus. Couldn't you have at least gotten orange tomatoes? He laughed, and we ate our sandwiches in silence, watching the kids play on the sculpture. I couldn't very well ask him about it, so I just sat there surrounded by Dutchness, feeling awkward and hopeful. In the distance soaked the unblemished sunlight, so rare and precious in our hometown. A gaggle of kids made a skeleton into a playground, jumping back and forth among the prosthetic bones. Two things I love about this sculpture, Augustus said. He was holding the unlit cigarette between his fingers, flicking at it as if it got rid of the ash. He placed it back in his mouth. First, the bones are just far enough apart that if you're a kid, you cannot resist the urge to jump between them. Like you just have to jump from rib cage to skull, which means that second, the sculpture essentially forces children to play on bones. The symbolic renaissances are endless, Hazel raised. You do love symbols, I said, hoping to steer the conversation back toward the many symbols of the Netherlands at our picnic. Right, about that. You're probably wondering why you're eating a bad cheese sandwich and drinking orange juice, and why I'm wearing the jersey of a Dutchman who played a sport I have come to loathe. It has crossed my mind, I said. Hazel Grace, like so many children before you, and I say this with great affection, you spent your wish hastily, with little care for the consequences. The Grim Reaper was staring you in the face, and the fear of dying with your wish still in your proverbial pocket, ungraded, led you to rush toward the first wish you could think of. And you, like so many others, chose the cold and artificial pleasures of the theme park. I actually had a great time on that trip. I met Goofy and Minnie. I'm in the midst of a soliloquy. I wrote this out and memorized it, and if you interrupt me, I will completely screw it up, Augustus interrupted. Pleased to be eating your sandwich and listening. The sandwich was inevitably dry, but I smiled and took a bite anyway. Okay, where was I? The artificial pleasures. He returned the cigarette to its pack. Right. The cold and artificial pleasures of the theme park. But let me submit that the real heroes of the Wish Factory are the young men and women who wait like Vladimir and Estragon wait for Godot and good Christian girls wait for marriage. These young heroes wait stoically and without complaint for their one true wish to come along. Sure, it may never come along, but at least they can resist easily in the grave knowing that they've done their little part to preserve the integrity of the wish as an idea. But then again, maybe it will come along. Maybe you'll realize that your one true wish is to visit the brilliant Peter Van Houten in his Amsterdamian exile, and you'll be glad indeed to have saved your wish. Augustus stopped speaking long enough that I figured the soliloquy was over. But it didn't save my wish, I said. Ah, he said. And then after what it felt like a practiced pause, he added, but I saved mine. Really? I was surprised that Augustus was wish eligible, what with being still in school and a year into remission. You had to be pretty sick for the genius to hook you up with a wish. I got it in exchange for the leg, he explained. There was all this light on his face. He had to squint to look at me, which made his nose wrinkle adorably. Now, I'm not going to give you my wish or anything, but I also have an interest in meeting Peter Van Houten, and it wouldn't make sense to meet him without the girl who introduced me to his book. It definitely wouldn't, I said. So I talked to the genies, and they're in total agreement. They said Amsterdam is lovely in the beginning of May. They proposed leaving May 3rd and returning May 7th. Augustus, really? He reached over and touched my cheek, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. My body tensed, and I think he saw it, because he pulled his hand away. Augustus, I said, really, you don't have to do this. Sure I do, he said. I found my wish. God, you are the best, I told him. I bet you say that to all the boys who finance your international travel, he answered.